morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. I had a birthday present of great surprise just last week. It's one of those round doodads that you do lighting with, and so this morning's adventure has been trying to figure out how to get the light to work so that you're not squinting and not reflecting it in the glasses and balancing it. So it's really been fun figuring that out. And there are clickers apparently where I can do clicking of the light levels, and I can do clicking of the iPad thing, and so we're going to continue to click manually, but I hope the lighting is different. And yes, anyways, that was a fun birthday present, completely unexpected. And today I am speaking to you about 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. This is my book club that I've been with for a billion years, and we used to do YA things exclusively, but as time has passed and some people have moved on and so on, the agenda is changing a little bit, so we're not doing YA exclusively. So this one came up in our recommendations for last year, and it was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. And Natalie Haynes is, what else did she do? She did, oh my goodness, I was sure she did another book. I didn't write it down, but I was convinced. Anyhow, 1,000 Ships, I thought to myself, oh God, I'm just so sick of the gods, and the Odysseus and Agamemnon and Menelaus just makes me weary. So I was thinking, I just don't care. The women are the protagonists in this book, and so we get Gaia, who is Mother of the Earth, and we get Hecuba and Andromache, Calliope, Clytemnestra, Cassiopeia, a bunch of others. So those are like all the ones that everybody remembers the names of. But then there are also women who just play very small parts in the story. They might be serving girls who end up getting raped or stolen, or there might be priestesses that we don't really know. They're serving the bigger priestesses, so they're lesser priestesses. So anyways, there's all these interesting voices that go past, and I have to say that it can be really galling when someone is right about something that yourself is like completely convinced otherwise. I was sure that I would dislike this book. I went into this book like almost as if it was a stinky diaper. I thought, I really don't want to read this book. After about, well, the first page completely solidified what my thinking was in terms of the last sentence is, how much epic poetry does the world really need? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm there for that. We've got enough. We've got so many interpretations of what exists. Like, oh, boring. Well, after the first chapter, well, maybe the first 3 chapters, I put the book down and I said to Steve, I really hate to admit it, but I think I might like this book. And as the book went on, I thought, yeah, I actually don't hate it. And so my family is very much alert to the whole classical periods of both the sort of history of it in reality, as well as the fanciful god bits. And so when I said I don't hate it as much as I thought I would, they decided that that was high praise indeed. So we've been talking about it as a family as well. Well, the book club basically loved it, and I more than endured it. So I think I would recommend this to a certain kind of reader, someone who really enjoys those kinds of stories, and I'll circle back to that. But one of the things that people really appreciated about this book is that we do get a weaving of the more known women as interspersed by these lesser known women, but we also, and I'm just looking concerned because the cat is just a little bit fat enough that if he squeezes through the door where we've got all these things rigged up, he can topple the entire enterprise. So Okay, back to the reality, back to the story. There's also I didn't catch this, but someone else noticed that we'll get 2 or 3 Trojan women and then a Greek woman. And the Greek woman that we hear the most from is Penelope, who is this long-suffering fool in Ithaca who continues, in this case, to write stories to her husband. Now, for me, that was a sticking point because there's no mail service. How is she going to, like, who's going to drive the boat that's going to get to Troy to deliver the letter? I mean, maybe it's going to happen, but I don't know. Anyways, through her letters, we get an encapsulation of what Odysseus has done. And she'll say something like, I heard a rumor that you decided to annoy a cyclops. So she's telling him to hurry on and get home. That was amusing to some people. I confess that I skipped Penelope's letters because I just have no patience for Odysseus anymore. The other thing that people really enjoyed was the way that the rape and the violence was handled. Is that it was more in the anticipation of what the women would be anticipating that as captured trophies of the war, they lose their status and they become slaves, and anything could happen. They could end up in a brothel, even though they're a queen. They could just end up anywhere, and they know that rape is imminent. So the tension is built through this anticipation of who am I going to be given to and what's going to happen to me? Am I going to get, that kind of anticipation, and the women are waiting on the beach to be divided up. So not only are they knowing that they're going to be facing this violence, they also know that they're going to be torn apart as families and friends. And so there's just all kinds of anxiety. And it's quite a picture of the women waiting on the beach for their fate to come forward. The other part that I did not know about, one of the other people in the book club she read the afterword, and the author mentions that this story is not entirely of her creation, that she has sort of picked through other authors' plot lines and fleshed them out. Now, she doesn't go into great detail as to who she's cherry-picked from, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but what she's been able to do is come up with creative plot lines and weave them together. So really what Natalie Haynes' skill is giving character to these women, and I think that for her the plot was secondary. There isn't much of a plot. There's a war. People are going to be conquered. People are going to be killed or disbanded, and Troy is going to fall. So, I mean, we all know that plot, or most of us know that plot. So she's done this incredible work around giving character to the humans, and as well the immortals. We meet Artemis and Athena, and what's the other one? Oh my goodness. The other female that's got an A to her name. Steve. Artemis. Pardon?
Artemis, Aphrodite.
Aphrodite. Aphrodite is so narcissistic. Blech. Anyway, she gives them quite the characters too, and you can really see the tension of the 3 sisters and their sibling rivalry and tension, and oh my goodness, it's just 3-year-olds stamping around in the backyard screaming over an apple. Unbelievable. So this is why I have 0 tolerance for the gods and goddesses. But anyhow, those who like the gods and goddesses will love those parts of the story. Helen is not given much of a voice. She's the whole cause of the situation. One of the questions that the group had was, how much agency did she have? And for those who buy into the notion that the fates are determining what your life is going to be, Helen really had no choice in what happened. And then for those of us who are like, no, that's just, no, we don't believe in the fates. So, which is an interesting moment where the 21st, or are we in the 21st century? I forget. But anyhow, people like me who just don't believe that the gods and the goddesses or any kind of divinity is going to rattle around worrying about little old individual me, we have a hard time comprehending the ability to buy into, well, it's the fates, there's nothing I can do, and resigning yourself and sort of depowering yourself or taking away your own agency in not just, it's not like, oh, what pajamas, I can only wear my pink pajamas because no one will let me wear my blue pajamas. Not that kind of giving up of agency, but like the agency of your entire life. And I find that incomprehensible. So, yeah, those were the things that we talked about. The question that we came to at the very end that I said I would circle back to is, would a reader enjoy this book who has never encountered these stories of Troy and the gods? And is there too much that the reader is filling in? Because if you've seen any of the movies, there's, that old one of Odysseus killing cyclopses and imitating sheep and so on. So if you've had even a little bit of encounter with the myths, is the reader infilling pieces or just going with the flow and not really questioning things? So none of us were completely at zero in terms of our knowledge of the myths. So we just thought it would be an interesting question to pose to people. If you knew nothing of these background stories, would you enjoy this book? Or is this a book that is definitely directed towards a very particular reading audience? So, we couldn't conclude anything on that, but we thought it was a question worth asking. So, I reluctantly give this book, I want to give it a 3 out of 5 because the subject matter irritates me so much. But in all honesty, I've got to give it a lot more. I can't bring myself to make a number because the devil on my one shoulder is going 3 out of 5 and the angel on my shoulder is going 5 out of 5. I'm going to take it back to like a 4 because I would have liked to have heard from Helen more. I would have liked to have known more what the women were experiencing. We don't really see them at leisure. We don't see them eating. We don't see them interacting in their living rooms with each other as families. So we only see them in response to the actions of war. So they're not fully fleshed out characters. The writing is terrific. The writing is just rock solid. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this author's skill as a writer. So that's why I'm hovering around a 4. That's it, I think, for me. The next book, ironically, my next book club is meeting tomorrow night, and we're doing Lore, which is a YA book based, again, on the gods and goddesses fighting for centuries, and 2 out of 5. But anyhow, we'll see what the rest of the gang has to say about it. And I'll talk to you later. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and there's no ice where you're walking. Bye-bye for now.